Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever the fuck you're watching this. This is the new, fresh out the box mint backyard buckets brought to you by Backyard Sports. With me tonight, I've got Andy Flint. How you doing, buddy?
Yo, fuck Vlad Putin.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna
Dude's
talk a little about him tonight.
he's a cuck of
We're not gonna
fucking
get too deep into
of
the whole
gigantic
situation, but we
proportions.
got some special shit lined up. Fuck him to fucking Uranus and back. Raul, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm on that same energy, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm fucking about that life tonight. Yeah, shout out Klitschko's. Yeah, I mean, God, what a shit show. Putin is fucking psycho is an understatement, man.
Yeah, it does feel like he's lost a little bit of a touch with reality, but we'll try to set a little bit of that aside. We are going to talk about it a little bit later, but before we get too deep into cussing out leaders of other countries, let's talk basketball, man. And we are fresh off a good, I can't say great because of the dunk contest, but a good All-Star weekend, really good All-Star game. We had some really awesome shit happen. Steph went nuts. The young guns. I really like the new format too, with the rising stars / bringing in some of the D-League folks. I want to pass it your way though, Andy, first as our resident basketball guru. What are your thoughts on All-Star Weekend, man? NBA always seems to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's really much of a secret unless you're just one of those people who doesn't like the NBA that they tend to have the best all-star styled event. Nobody watches the Pro Bowl. The Home Run Derby is great though for baseball. I mean, I think everybody, the Derby is one of those things that I think you can get kind of everybody on board with, even if they don't really care much for baseball. But I do feel like the NBA All-Star brings those elements too, because they have the fun things. We've had in seasons past, you have a current NBA player, a WNBA player from that city, and then, a legend competing off in basically trick shots. You have the celebrity game. So, you get to see Machine Gun Kelly showing his whole ass out there like he's trying to battle Eminem again. Myles Garrett, the freak that he is. The big thing that I will say, my takeaway from this year is everybody's really upset with the dunk contest. And I realize that it wasn't the best dunk contest. But for me personally, the dunk contest is one of those things that's so easy to not be good. And it doesn't matter who you have competing, because those dunkers had some good dunks. I mean, Obi Toppin laid down a couple of really nice dunks. Cole Anthony had that big what if between the legs 360 that I don't even think he was all that close on. I don't know why guy 6'3" is trying that. But it's
he gets an A for effort.
It's hit or miss, and it's so easy to miss because if guys don't land the spectacular dunks on the first try, you're automatically like, what the hell? In every probably 4 or 5 years, we seem to get a treat like we had with Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, Vince Carter in 2000. Well, it's impossible. I mean, and everybody I think now has. So in 2000, it was the first year they brought it back after a hiatus, and everybody remembers Vince. But Steve Francis, Tracy McGrady, those guys put on a show too in that dunk contest. So it was really just well-rounded. For years, that's all you ever heard was, we're never going to have one like that. And then LaVine and Gordon blow the top off it. And now it's we're impossible standards. So we have these impossible standards. Give it a year or two. There's a lot of guys that can get up. They'll bring it back. It's just people tend to bitch.
I think the other big thing about it is also there's only so much creativity you can have with a 10-foot rim, right? It's not like the Home Run Derby where you get on a streak and you hit 25 in a row like a Pete Alonso and it's a big deal, right? Or a Juan Soto putting on a show. Or Josh Hamilton, right, at Yankee Stadium where you hit a bunch out of the fucking stadium. You can't do that with dunks. You're still dunking on a 10-foot rim. So for years, like you mentioned, after the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk, it was props, right? People were jumping over cars or jumping over basketball racks and stuff like that. And that's all fun and dandy. And if you can put on a show like maybe Dwight, right, when he had the Superman cape, or Nate Robinson with the kryptonite shoes, right? That's sort of stuff you can get creative with, but you are still limited with a 10-foot rim with dunks, right? So I think you're absolutely right. Temper expectations to a certain extent, and it really is easy for the dunk contest to fall flat. Raul, what are your thoughts on All-Star Weekend, man?
I mean, I feel like, again, Andy touched on it, but Myles Garrett's not human, right? John Morant had some fucking dunk contest worthy dunks. Steph Curry is a bucket from the logo and doesn't even need to keep it eye. Ball's halfway there and he's just like
walking it off.
Like Jesus, man. Savage, absolute savage.
But free throw.
As far as the dunk contest is concerned, man, I think people just need to understand, like you said, the creativity, the innovation with the 10-foot hoop is only going to get you so far. Then it becomes antics and it's fucking America's Got Talent on a dunking stage. But what it really should be, and I think the only way that we keep this dunk contest really consistent is just focus from the point of form, man. Like, yeah, have your swag, be creative, but also like do it with confidence. Don't almost get that bucket. The critiquing has to just get more meticulous. This needs to be more like a routine, like I'm not trying to make a joke whenever I say this, but I think of it like a figure skating routine or a bull riding routine. Prime example, because you're graded on how well you stay in your seat, how high your hand is up. If any point in time you lose control, you're graded on all that. And so that type of dunk, it needs to be graded properly. It needs to be more than just some assholes holding some 8.5 by 11.
It's so subjective, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
That's exactly the other thing. You get a guy like Dwayne Wade, what he did, when he robbed Gordon.
Right. It's super casual. And that's all I'm saying is that you have to put some production value and maybe some, at least preface it with saying like, hey, we're going to critique all of you and this is what we expect, blah, blah, blah.
So I like where Raul kind of goes with this, because it's almost like you get an unbiased non-player panel to be the judges, because we're going to do this every year, and get them in there, have some sort of grading. It also reminds me kind of like a skateboarding or a BMX run in the X Games, something to that extent. They're graded on their run. You can pull off one of the greatest tricks, but if you fall 6 other times, it's going to count against you throughout. So,
I feel like you can even create the allure by just saying, like, in order to be a judge for the dunk contest, you have to have won it. You know what it takes. And so those are the ones who are either unbiased because they're probably retired or maybe not competing at that level anymore. And it's, it's a prime opportunity. There's some great entertainment value in it, is all I'm saying. And so it's definitely not something that needs to go away.
I'm out of here.
For sure. So, Andy, real quick, Raul's already talked a little bit about the Steph Curry show, but how just ridiculous and impressive is 16 fucking threes, whether you're playing defense or not,
right?
Where he's shooting from too. And he had a game winner with, they were up 1, I think at that point before LeBron hit the game winner that would have put him past Anthony Davis for the all-time All-Star game record, but also made it 17 fucking threes. Like, how absurd is that, dude?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I think if Steph Curry gets to shoot 27 threes, I'm expecting him to make 13 of those. So, to kind of up the ante a little bit, a little less pressure, I think, to make 16. It's awesome. Yeah. And it's great. It's great because we're to the point now where there's no defense played, which is fine, because with a game like basketball, you can still put a product out there. It isn't like watching a football game where they can't tackle. So it's great. So it's nice to see somebody besides all of the highlight dunks, a guy who barely dunks, to just get out there.
John did hit his head on the fucking rafters.
Oh, absolutely. And there were still some awesome dunks, but it's like, Steph Curry, for all intents and purposes, isn't your guy who's traditionally built to wow in the All-Star game, because it is mostly dunks or
wide open dunks and alley-oops,
things like that. Yeah. So he's, where's he going to fit in that? So now he's just out there cracking it open from wherever he wants. And he's not the first guy to go bananas from 3, but he definitely
does it differently.
Oh, he did it the best. Obviously. So, again, it's one of those things where I kind of like temper my expectations a little bit, because I expect Steph Curry to hold those kinds of records. But yeah, It was exciting. It was awesome. And again, it wasn't like I never pull away from that game feeling like, oh, that sucked. I mean, I knew what it was going to be going in, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Right, you're not there to watch defense either, right? You're not there to watch an all-star game. You want to watch defense, tune into the finals.
I mean,
right?
Speaking of Steph Curry, he laid down on a fast break on defense before when Giannis was coming. So I mean, you're not. They're out there. They're trying not to get hurt.
They're having fun.
You know, you're pulling into the final stretch of the season, and most of these guys are going to be on playoff potential. So yeah, you're just having fun, giving the fans a show.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's transition a little bit to some smoke that emerged not long after the All-Star game kind of, came to pass. And JJ Redick comes out and gives us some honesty that we love to hear from athletes, right? We don't get it very often. We don't get these takes from athletes. We don't get these takes from teammates and former teammates very often. But he comes out and says flat out, Zion is not only a bad teammate, but he's a detriment to that team, right? Like you could be a bad teammate, but he doesn't take it professionally. He's not there to contribute. Short of saying he ate himself out of the league, essentially. He says he doesn't take care of his body. He's not there to work. And we're going to talk about the trade deadline in a minute, but like the face of that franchise hasn't even touched base with their newest all-star acquisition, one of the premier scorers in this league. He hasn't even touched base with the guy since he's been traded to New Orleans. And JJ says like that's what we've come to know from Zion. Raul, I'm going to go to you first. What are your thoughts on Zion? Is this a big deal? Does New Orleans need to move on?
Well, I think we certainly live in an age because of how well-connected athletes are with social media. And in this case with JJ, I mean, the man was in front of a camera, so he had no problem issuing out the smoke. But I think that because of this, JJ Redick was cool handing it out is because we live in the social media age, and with that comes accountability. You get a different side of people's lives all the time, and Zion's doesn't shy from social media, and with that comes he's everyone gets to see that he's not invested in his fucking team. He's clearly not taking care of himself. And then on top of that, I mean, to hear this from JJ Redick, I feel like just kind of it confirms what a lot of people were maybe thinking or on the fence about. If anybody was waffling, they are waffling no more, or they shouldn't.
Well, it's more poignant too and more powerful coming from a guy like a JJ Redick who's one
in the
highly
locker room
respected throughout the league, but also every locker room he's ever been in, he's been a leader within that locker room and a voice within that locker room. Andy, thoughts?
I don't like it. I don't like it because where it's coming from. Now, I like that JJ spoke his truth because, I hope that's how he feels and he's not just in front of the camera now.
Piling on.
How much these two haven't even spent much time together. So I don't know if I completely trust where this is coming from. Now, I completely agree that Zion's not doing what he's supposed to do in terms of commitment with his body. However, JJ's sort of leading us to believe this narrative that I don't know if is true or not about Zion. It's almost like he didn't say this, but it's almost like he said Zion Williamson's a bad teammate. And I don't know if that's true. And I haven't heard any of his teammates speak up on this. I mean, in fact, CJ McCollum is kind of like, shut the fuck up, everybody. He's rehabbing. He wants to do it in peace. That's why he hasn't touched base with me. I think we expect way more out of a guy that age than is possible. I think he gets probably lumped in with some guys who maybe were more capable of that at a young age. Your LeBrons, guys of that nature. It's probably not the same thing. Not everybody's the same. So I don't really want to go down the route of him being a bad teammate because that's what everybody believes now. Whether Redick said it or not, he alluded to that. And I don't know if it's true. I kind of think it's trash. And I don't think that they spent enough time together. And I don't think that JJ Redick probably wasn't hanging out with Zion. I mean, they're different age. I haven't heard a younger teammate on that team say anything. So until we hear something concrete like that, I don't I don't really want to run with it. I think.
Do you think that anybody actively in that locker room would be honest though?
Probably. This is the day and age of players doing and saying what they want.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I think JJ Redick's on the outside, and he can talk that shit because he's not going to have to share a lot.
Right, and listen, man, and I like JJ Redick. I'm probably the only person in the world that wanted Orlando to draft JJ Redick back then. I liked him when he was there.
Honestly,
but I see this take and I see the timing of it, and now he's on TV and the way he worded things, and it seems kind of fucking weird to me. I think it's simple. I think JJ Redick is at least wanting some acknowledgement that at minimum, he's not the fucking prodigy that everyone expected him to be. Whether it be from injury or not, he's not that, and that is expected. Like LeBron, in order to get to where he is, needed to be a fucking prodigy and needed to be dedicated to his craft. And there's been plenty of reasons to believe that he's not dedicated to his craft. Now, granted,
but I think
the CJ McCollum thing is light. Like it's overkill of a response, sure, but it's still accountability that's due. It's like,
I think that's something we expect, but I think Andy's onto something. You know, while I think that there is some fire here behind this smoke, I do understand what Andy's saying, right? Like, they didn't spend a lot of time together. JJ was there when he was a rookie and saw how he acted as a rookie. A lot of people can act like an asshole as a rookie, right? But the expectation to have, not everybody's built to be the ambassador of a team either, right? Like, not everybody's built to be that guy. Like, not everybody's Joe Burrow. Some people are Justin Herbert, right? Or, you know, LeBron versus other guys that are quiet. Kevin Durant's kind of a quiet leader, except on social media where he gets in his feelings all the time. But, you know, so I think you have that, right? Where it could be some of that dichotomy where JJ thinks of leadership as one thing. Zion didn't exhibit that, and JJ reads that as he's not committed to his craft. He's not committed to the team. And I don't think we can debate, right, that he, to this point, has clearly not been dedicated to his craft, right? And Andy, you put it perfectly, I think, in chat the other day when we were talking, is it just doesn't feel like he loves the game, right? And that may be the case. So,
and again, I don't argue that he's not doing what he's supposed to as a teammate
professionally,
as it, you know, in regards to himself being in shape,
beyond the court,
being there. However, I just felt like it got steered in like a weird direction now, where people are like, "Oh, this guy might be like an asshole, and his teammates don't like him." I don't think that that's the case. I think that. I think here's where JJ lost me with this a little bit. So I think JJ got in front of a camera and he knew what the words coming out of his mouth were going to do. And he said, fuck it, and did it anyways, even though it may be misleading. That's my take for Redick. I mean, and that's with the.
You're softly calling it fake news.
I'm not calling it fake news. What I'm saying is, He said one thing, knowing that everybody was going to take it as
everybody else was going to connect the dots for him.
They were going to run further with it, and he was perfectly okay. And he has the plausible deniability of being like, "Well, I didn't say that."
Right.
Has he used that though, or was that not his intention?
I don't think anybody has posed a follow up to him though.
Right.
I haven't seen any.
But
any
in chats with
in
chats with other fans on social media platforms and things of that nature, people have taken this beyond. What Redick said. It's the implication for me.
Yeah.
I ain't
right.
New Orleans needs to get rid of him.
It is on Redick because he knew goddamn well what he was doing. He's a smart guy.
No, it's absolutely
not. He went to Duke, although Kyrie went to Duke and thinks the fucking earth's flat. But
yeah, but you ever seen Kyrie dribble?
And you know what? Maybe he fucking really feels that way, and that's why he knowingly said what he said.
Maybe.
I think he was showing out a little bit for the camera.
Well, either way, I fucking agree with him. So fuck Zion.
That's great. I mean, I don't disagree with like what actually came out of his mouth. I just disagree with what I think
aftermath
and where it went from there. And I feel like he has a responsibility because he knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah.
No,
again,
absolutely not a chance.
See, that's disrespectful. He's an intelligent guy.
All right. Let's transition. We mentioned CJ McCollum joining the Pels. So let's talk trade deadline, right? It just passed recently. The NBA Trade deadline came and went. We had some big moves, some little moves, some teams adding some depth, but we had a few headliners. So I want to go to Andy first. Give me your winners and losers from the trade deadline. A couple winners, couple losers. If you've got one of each, just let's start with winners. Go with your winners from the trade deadline. Who won the trade market?
That's super duper easy. I mean, I think more so than anyone, the Nets won. Clearly. They get rid of a guy who doesn't want to be there. I mean, if we want to talk about guys who might be bad teammates, I think him and I have something in common. Yeah. So I actually in Tracy McGrady went on him a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But I think, and I'm not saying the 76ers lost because I think that they won as well, but the Nets win this big time because they bring in not only Ben Simmons, who, Gary, we've talked about this, I think is a better fit with that current Nets team than Harden. He doesn't command the rock in the same way that Harden would with Durant and Kyrie. Then they got Andre Drummond, who's still a very capable center, and Seth Curry, and the 2 first-round picks. So that's the big winner for me.
Raul, you got a winner from the trade market?
I mean, I feel like the Nets won just initially just because they could free up whatever space Harden's taking on their roster. I mean, that's another situation. That's another Zion-like situation where this guy's not fucking getting it together, And and I'm curious to see if there is some improvement to see from Ben Simmons. You know what I mean? And that change of scenery is going to bring him out of his shell. So I'm curious to see if the anticipation that everyone's been having to see him get back on the court, if it was worth it.
Yeah, I bet Ben Simmons is really, really good at Fortnite. So that's been his improvement from this season.
He's really good at being in his feelings. That is really for sure.
Really good at that and playing Fortnite. Look, I think the Nets won, right? I agree that I think the Nets overall at the trade deadline are the winners. I disagree on some levels of the absolute fit that Ben Simmons is in Brooklyn. I agree that they can hide him a little better offensively than Philly could because they've got Kevin Durant, the greatest pure scorer we've ever seen, right? At 7 foot, can shoot from anywhere in the fucking gym. But I don't think that I think he's a lot like Zion. I just don't think he loves the game of basketball. And I don't think he's going to go to Brooklyn and grind late in the season. We saw him in Philly not put any effort into even attempting to be in grind mode in the playoffs, right? When the going gets tough, that dude, he fucking turtles, right? So I think they won the trade. I just disagree with the fit of Ben Simmons. However, I think that they made some really good moves with the additional pieces, like you said, Andy, especially adding Curry, a guy that he's just another shooter you can spread the floor with, right? And he can spell Simmons when you need offense, right? If you're in a pinch and you need offense, you put Simmons on the bench and you bring Curry in, let him run along, run wing to wing and just shoot the fucking ball, right? While Kevin Durant's dominating, the defensive kind of awareness. I think the other thing that helps Brooklyn win timing wise, this happened after the trade deadline, but we see the restrictions being lifted in these major cities that have NBA cities, right? So not only do they add Ben Simmons, getting rid of James Harden, they add Seth Curry, they add draft picks that could be capital later on. They're probably not going to be super valuable, but they are draft capital.
And they add 50% of Kyrie Irving.
Now probably. They get 50% more of Kyrie. Right, exactly. So, and Kevin Durant's going to be coming back soon. He's getting healthy. I just think overall, this whole kind of trade season they won. I will say that I like what Philly did, though. I like Harden as a fit with Embiid. He's just a pure scorer, but I think in the pick and roll with Embiid and the pick and pop, even because we know Embiid can shoot, I think Philly won in this as well. I don't think there was a loser in that trade as long as Philly can keep Harden engaged.
Right. I mean, and the Philly's a loser if they don't win right away. If Philly can't win this year or like next year, then they're huge losers.
100%.
I'll explain my fit thing, I think, for Brooklyn, and this will actually probably really help explain why I think Harden's a great fit in Philly at the same time. 2 birds, 1 stone. I like that. So in Philly, Ben Simmons' inability to shoot the ball or to even try to, led to defenders creeping back. And you have Embiid who's trying to play on the high or low block, and that doesn't work. So now when you go to Brooklyn, you're going to have shooters spacing the floor, and Drummond isn't going to be standing there in the paint waiting for a post up. That's just not what he does at this point in his career. So I think, you talked about hiding Simmons, and I've actually said the same phrase before, hiding him with the shooters, because you have Curry, you have Kyrie, and you have Durant. Now you're also freeing up lanes for him to get downhill, which he's good at. So if they want to play in some space on him, they're going to have a terrible time, I think, trying to play space on Ben Simmons in Brooklyn, because he's going to have active shooters, a couple of other guys who can actively put the ball on the floor. And then he still has a guy like Embiid that can clean up the trash in Drummond, probably better so than Embiid at cleaning up the trash, but he's also not calling for low paint touches. So I think that makes a world of difference. And then in which that kind of explains my scenario in Philly. Now Embiid, obviously he's had it this year anyways without Simmons, but he's not going to have to worry about that deep defender, because if you play that way on Harden, he's scoring 60. Right. Yeah. And Harden, we saw what Harden did with Clint Capella in Houston.
Yep.
Very
good at the pick and roll.
Very good at getting his big guy the ball in spots where the big guy is going to be successful. Yep. So yeah, it should work for both teams.
I like it. Raul, do you think Harden's a good fit in Philly?
I don't really have an opinion on it, honestly.
I'm sorry.
I'm really not a fan, but I know it's really hard. I put on a really good front, but I'm not actually his biggest fan. However, I did have one quick take about the trade deadline that I wanted your opinion on. Just see what kind of significance we'd be seeing out of Serge Ibaka to the Bucks. So that's
a great question.
That's a big body. The post,
a versatile big body too.
That's a seasoned veteran fucking champion.
Yep.
Bobby Portis, who plays defense. Really,
Serge may have a championship, or
he spreads the floor. He can still shoot the ball.
Yep.
A vet, so he knows what he's doing. Not only is he a vet, but he championship caliber vet. OKC late runs in the playoff vet. Not the shot blocker he used to be, but still decent. And he's actually a decent on the ball defender too. Probably 3 through 5. So yeah, he can. It's huge for the Bucks, who are still my favorite. I'm really fighting,
hanging on, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I love the Ibaka pickup for them. I think it's just one more piece that they can use to guard several positions.
Right.
He can guard big twos too, right? Like those combo kind of wing guards, right? The bigger, Klay Thompson size guys. He can guard those kind of guys if he has to. So that's so much versatility that they add. Andy, you mentioned the on-ball defense. Like everybody thinks of Ibaka and they think back to when he used to block 2.5, 3 shots a game. He's not that guy anymore, but he can still lock you up on the perimeter. And still bang down low, with the fives that want to get down there. So I think that is an immense pickup for them.
Team's got a ton of length.
Sneaky great pickup. And yeah, you look at how much fucking length they got. You mentioned Portis, you talk about Giannis and Ibaka and fucking
even their guards, Holiday's long,
very.
It's just
he's a nasty defender too.
I'm a little sad that they lost DiVincenzo. I thought that he was a good guy for them off the bench. He was good in the playoffs. So I just, but that's the real cog, because everything else they gave up was like Rodney Hood. So you gotta give things to get things, I guess. Even when you're dealing with the Kings, who probably would have let him just like.
Yeah, if they'd have just offered a couple of green gummy bears, they might have gotten them.
Well, you have the Kings, and that was like a 4-team deal or whatever.
I'm talking like 3-4. Not even a bag.
Yeah, right. You don't even get a handful; you just get a few.
Yeah.
You know, you get the Kings in a 4-team deal, and they're like, we'll just take all of the scrubs.
Yeah, give us every shit player you got. We'll give you all our good guys.
Like,
what a fucking terrible thing.
The Kings are the real fucking statues of liberty. We'll take your week. We'll take your poor.
We will send you $100 million.
Either, though. Yeah, because they do it to themselves. Like, they're just terrible.
Well, they still are the losers, if that's what we're segueing, because
let's hear it.
No fucking buddy trades a second-year guy who had such a he's essentially the third best rookie from last year, and that's behind Edwards and LaMelo, who are already pretty fucking good. So, like, to deal him and to basically say, we haven't seen a lot out of you, kid, but what we've seen is great. However, we're rolling with De'Aaron Fox, who we've seen a lot more from, and it's not been as good. No. I mean, I like De'Aaron Fox, too. Don't get me wrong. I really wanted to see him out of Sacramento. Oddly enough, one of the things, and I think I said this to you guys, one of the big things that I saw somebody projecting like the day before the deadline was De'Aaron Fox to the Pacers. So he was close. He just didn't really calculate how inept the fucking Kings are. Fucking Haliburton. Like, what the fuck? He must be elated to get out of there.
He must be, man. He must be. They could have traded him to fucking Europe. He'd have probably been happy.
And speaking of Europe, poor fucking Sabonis, too. This fucking guy.
Dude, Jesus Christ. Like, God. You go from Indiana, where they're kind of struggling, but still respectable, to fucking purgatory. Like,
right. They have a pedigree in Indiana, at least. So, like, that team expects to win. You know, that franchise expects to win. Now you're in the Kings, who the only time they've done anything good was fucking Chris Webber era.
Stove chiming in from the Backyard Sports page. Fuck Harden.
Damn.
Raul, any dissenting opinion on the losers at the trade deadline? Are the Kings kind of the far and away losers, or do we have somebody else?
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of salty about oh, Jesus Christ. It's like sneezed hard and that hurt. Anyways, I'm not. I don't even know how to explain what the fuck just happened. Anyways, I'm not real happy with fucking Spurs, but that's, you know, is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm not happy with it.
That was, I didn't see that one even coming.
No.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Come on, man. That's there was so much there with Derek.
Right, and that's another one of those ones that's a little sneaky too, like the Ibaka thing, because like Thad Young still has some in the tank. Bro, I was actually playing 2K earlier. That dude was busting my fucking ass, and I was like, "What is? He's got to be like a 75 overall." And he's just whooping Aaron Gordon's ass, because I got a shooting guard on my player. And like I'm playing on the Nuggets, and he's just taking it to Gordon and Joker. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Thad Young's that old dude at the Y that just whoops your ass, and you get done, and you're like, how the fuck did that just happen?
Yeah, I mean, he's, you know, if you think back to Thad Young too, he's one of those guys. I think where was he? Philly? That he was like one of the first 3-4 merge kind of guys, like when it was becoming popular. That was Philly, right? Yeah, it was Philly. They had that team, actually, they had a lot of cool young pieces back on that Philly team with Thad Young.
Yeah.
100 years ago.
I'll present one more loser. I think this is a combo platter. Portland and New Orleans. Like Portland, because for so many years, they've tried to hold on, and they haven't put enough around Dame Lillard. And really, Lillard is kind of the loser in all this, because he goes and has abdominal surgery after finding out that he had a hernia for the last decade and just played through it. Like, how do you just play through a fucking hernia? He's like, yeah, my abs just hurt. I do sit-ups and my abs hurt. Like, yeah, there's a problem, buddy. He's like, I just thought I was sore from doing sit-ups. Like, no, come on. There's something there. But I feel bad for Dame. Like, he's going to be stuck in fucking basketball hell until they finally trade him, if they trade him. And on the opposite side, like New Orleans, I get it. CJ's a big time player, right? But, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. that they're pushing hard to bring in a guy like McCollum. It doesn't, to me, it just doesn't feel like a good fit. It feels like New Orleans made a move just to make a move, to say that they made a move after the deadline, and they're like, hey, we're trying to do something here, right? Like, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think in that trade, so look, we talked about Brooklyn and Philly, win-win, right? I think both teams kind of won in that. I think this one's a lose-lose, and in the end, I feel the worst for Dame.
Bad franchises do this shit though. Like,
yeah, you're right. Like
they made a move involving a big name to make a move involving a big name. I mean, we just talked about Serge Ibaka.
Right.
My Magic did the same thing a few years back when they traded on draft night Victor Oladipo to OKC for Serge Ibaka, and it made no fucking sense other than maybe they were going to try to sell a few more tickets. And you said the big loser is Dame, and that I felt it to my core because the Blazers just did this past several years, 8 years, however long it's probably how McCollum's fucking old already.
Yeah.
They did this want to see me pair two small guards together and watch it not work. And now they're doing it again with Anthony Simons, who's all of 6'3". Yep. Kid can play. He's averaging like 17 points a game, but what are you doing? Like, this is not the answer. You basically are playing 2 point guards. I've said that for years. McCollum to me was kind of probably the guy who should be on the ball. But you can't with Dame Lillard, so
right.
It's a joke for both teams.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move off the trade deadline. Let's talk about the rest of the season. Right, we're at the quote unquote halfway point. Right, All-Star break comes well after the halfway point in terms of games, but it's the break. Right, so now we're in crunch time. We're in the stretch run here, and we are approaching when we start talking playoffs, right? So let's talk about favorite in the East. Andy, who's your favorite in the East?
Dude, you really put me on the spot first. I just, you did it on purpose too, because
you already said it, dude. It's Milwaukee.
Oh, I don't know if it's Milwaukee. Like, see, and that's the thing. Like,
nah, son, you got to commit now, motherfucker.
I don't have to commit. I wouldn't have had to commit if it wasn't first.
Andy, are you Belgian?
No, stop.
No, for sure.
I am
buttermilk.
I am sticking with Milwaukee. I just,
now you're just being dramatic about it.
Well, the Bulls to me are a team that it's like, I don't know if there's enough experience there playoff wise, and the experience you got was a lot of not showing up while in Toronto. Sorry, DeMar. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you back for talking shit about you now. But I don't know. I mean, you've got Ball, you've got Vooch, you've got Levine. These are besides DeRozan, these are your star players. None of them really have playoff experience. Vooch has been there like once, and they were bad, and they got killed. Yeah. Lonzo, no experience. You've got Levine, next to no experience. So, like, I just don't know if I trust a team like that, even though they're a great young team. And, I don't know about the Sixers. The Heat are the ones that kind of scare me, honestly, because, the worst thing about the Heat is nobody's really talking about them. So they're kind of flying under the radar, and they might have the most complete 7 or 8 guys. So, But yeah, I'm going to stick with Milwaukee.
Raul, who's your favorite in the East?
It's Miami. It's got to be Miami. And quietly moving, yet they're number 1 off the lead. You know what I mean? They're 1 game off the lead. There is some shit popping off in Miami. And I think that they've got already a complete enough team. And again, they don't have a lot of the big pieces, right? So they're not going to have the flashy pieces. It kind of allows them to kind of move in silence. And yeah, I think absolutely. Chicago, the only thing that worries me about them is their depth. Absolutely. The experience in the deep water, in the deeper rounds, if you will, of the season. But yeah, their depth in the bench, even there's a lot. There's a lot of holes in that armor, and I would put Milwaukee over Chicago.
And you got Miami, and they still might get Oladipo back. So
yeah. I've got my top 3 right now is Miami, Milwaukee, and the Sixers.
Yeah, I hate to talk bad about the Bulls. I feel like, depending on the matchup, they can lose the first round. So,
Wow.
Fucking
Yeah, I like
waffle.
those two picks. I think that's a good top three. I think the reality of what Brooklyn has coming back has to have them in the picture. You get the Durantula back, and you get Seth Curry, and now you get 50% of Kyrie back. Like,
Hey, no, but like real quick, just before we move forward, never say Durantula again, though, right? Like,
you didn't like that one, huh?
No,
bro, I like it because Durant hates it. I
Yeah.
should use it more because he doesn't like it, and
He fucking
whatever
He
he's
does
not
get
about,
it.
I'm about.
He is fun to fuck with because he's
Yeah.
showing his feelings about it. Like he
for
really
sure.
does.
He's probably on Twitter right now bitching about it.
Oh, he's got the burners. Like it's
Oh,
proven.
dude, if you said something to him on Twitter right now, you'd get like a DM from like Devin Durant, and he'd be like, "Yo, this isn't KD, but you better stop."
Devin
Like,
Durant.
Yo, and it's like, hey, KD,
Sound
yo,
good.
that was a video. Yeah, we got it. It was a video.
Anyway, I like all that. I'm gonna go with Milwaukee. Milwaukee's been my pick from the start. I like that they kept a lot of that roster together, and I like that they've got a lot of playoff seasoning. And then adding Serge Ibaka, in the chat I expressed my love of that move, and I feel even better about it watching how pieces have kind of come together. With them and looking at the way they can kind of mesh rosters and whatnot. So I'm with Milwaukee. I think Brooklyn's going to be a problem in the playoffs with how much scoring they have. If they can get exactly what Andy says they're going to get out of Ben Simmons, I think that they will have a very, very good shot at being that team to push Milwaukee and potentially win the East. I just personally don't have the confidence that they're going to get that out of Ben Simmons. Maybe it's a personal thing. I think the guy's kind of a piece of shit, right? So I may not be able to get past that. So
a nightmare scenario that is kind of close to being a reality at this point could very well be that the Bulls might have to play a team like the Nets first round.
I think Chicago's a bit of fool's gold too. I did want to finish with that. I think they're a little bit of fool's gold.
I don't want to call them like fool's gold. Maybe fool's gold for being in the top spot. It's kind of how I felt about the Heat winning the East in the bubble. Like,
yeah,
that to me was still just not real.
Hero and Robinson got fucking white hot.
It was a shooter's paradise in that bubble.
Yeah,
so like
sure.
we saw weird teams, but I just. If they play the Nets in the first round with home court advantage, I guarantee the Nets are the favorite. So,
for sure.
It's just how often does that ever happen? It doesn't. So it is. I guess fool's gold actually might be the right term, even though I don't like it. Because like JJ Redick, it implies something.
DeRozan right now too, right? Like, Is he really a 35 a night for a fucking month guy?
I mean,
he's proven it, but.
Listen, I think a lot of things for NBA players is it's all about fit.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of people thought the Spurs thing was going to be a beautiful fit for a guy like DeRozan because Greg Popovich. Makes things happen.
Yeah.
He made LaMarcus Aldridge, not that LaMarcus Aldridge wasn't good in Portland, but it was just like kind of a different LaMarcus Aldridge. The things he scored less, but he just looked better.
He was more Tim Duncan than LaMarcus Aldridge.
Right. And for DeRozan, though, that didn't really end up translating completely. Like, this is the DeMar DeRozan that everybody's been looking for since he came out of, California, USC. And now we're getting it, and we're getting it with like a bunch of young. Maybe this was the role he was built for, to like run with a bunch of young guys.
Maybe, and just be a guy that fills the cup.
You know what he's reminding me of a little bit, and it's crazy because we were just talking about the Heat. He kind of he's doing stuff right now that Jimmy Butler does in Miami.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Jimmy Butler came from a team of vets. He was the young guy with Rose and Noah and Taj, and now he's, he bounced around between Minnesota. He went to Philly, And he was like, I don't like it here with these guys. Went to Miami. Everybody thought he was crazy, myself included. Like I was driving the He's Nuts train, and
he loves
taking
out
all these
there,
young guys under his wing, man. And
Yeah.
it's just like, you know what it is? It's because he plays a certain brand of basketball, and he's making those young guys play that same brand of basketball. And I think when you watch the Bulls play, I think it's Zach LaVine's team still, but like you see DeRozan's fingerprints everywhere.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, let's shift gears. Let's go to the Western Conference. Raul, who's your favorite to win the West?
Honestly, this was the hardest one. I have a lot of faith in Ja.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I do have a lot of faith in Ja. And it was something that was kind of hard for me. It was a toss-up as far as whether or not this could get that far again. But fucking, Golden State still plays. So, I mean, Golden State is probably my favorite to take the West.
Okay.
And it's purely the safe bet, admittedly, but like, come on, tried and true, man. This is,
for sure.
We're talking about Tom Brady right now in Golden State.
Andy, who's winning the West?
I think there's only two acceptable answers here. I thought Raul was going to fuck that up right away because the Grizzlies are not one. And the Grizzlies
no, but I love Ja.
No,
I love Ja.
Listen, I love Ja too. I like Clark. Like
I want to blindly support him.
Desmond Bane. I like that team, but I get a lot of what I was just saying about the Bulls with them. They're young. It's hard for me to rely on a young team like that. So I think the only two answers, obviously, I'm talking Suns Warriors. Oh my God, I don't even want to say this, to be honest with you, but I think I agree with Raul. I think to be able to hold the raft afloat while we're waiting for Klay Thompson to come back, and they're getting a lot out of their young guys. Obviously Curry and Draymond Green's playing his role.
Toscano Anderson has been a fucking revelation for them.
Yeah, Wiggins. I mean, they've just, but these younger guys they've drafted the last couple of years have really, bought in. Kerr's doing a great job. I wanted to say the Suns. The Suns are the team I want because, like, I'm still hoping that, like, I'd still love to see Chris Paul
CP3
win one, and I like Bridges and I like Booker and stuff like that. But I can't, man. It's like betting against the house in Vegas with the Warriors. I just think they're going to be too good. Klay's going to be like full steam in 20 games.
Yep.
It's hard to go against Golden State.
Yep. And what do we have coming in 20 games? It's when games start to matter.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you, Andy. I'm clean sweep for the Warriors. It was Suns or Warriors for me, and I really, really do want to see CP3 win one. I think last year was the window for them. They were healthy. Other teams were hurt. They played really well in the playoffs. I thought Chris Paul was the MVP last year. I was very vocal about that. I do want to see him get one. I just don't see it happening this year because, as you said, Klay Thompson's going to be full steam in about 20 games, and that's going to be perfect timing for them. And for them to be winning this many games while just letting him just chuck and get in basketball shape, like that's a big fucking deal. Draymond is Draymond. He's going to be able to, engineer that defense, and Steve Kerr's done a tremendous job. This Warriors team reminds me of the pre-Durant Warriors. They're deep. They've got a lot of young talent, and Steph Curry's out of his fucking mind. Klay Thompson is about to be in full swing, and Draymond Green is the best defensive player in the league. I just think that this team really reminds me of the pre-Durant Warriors with how deep they go on the bench too, man. They get so much production out of that bench. And in playoff time, we know how important benches are in the playoffs. So it's to me, this is the Warriors and the Suns. I think we'll see them in the finals. I just think the Warriors are going to have a bit too much firepower for them. And they play incredible defense. They're back to playing just insane defense across 4 out of 5 positions because Steph Curry just plays passing lanes.
Yeah, I think the matchups will be bad for Phoenix if they have to play the Warriors. That was really kind of what did it for me. Was was seeing those two at the end of it in the West, and I don't love it.
You mentioned Wiggins too. Like Steve Kerr has gotten so much out of Wiggins. Like this is Wiggins a little less than what we expected coming out of college, but like Wiggins is a legitimate star in this league now in Golden State.
Well, and I thought Wiggins was playing really good basketball in Minnesota. He just the problem was Minnesota needed Wiggins to be
LeBron James,
a superstar, and he was slated as a superstar, and that's not who he is. He's not a superstar. No. But he can be a really good third option
in the league.
But he's been a second option all year though. Yeah. So I mean that's very encouraging. And I mean now with Clay coming back, and the other thing is Clay, I mean we'll see how he's holding up, but Clay and Wiggins playing defense on your wings. That's two really good defenders there. And then you have Draymond also. So they're going to be tough. I really worry about the Suns being able to hang with them. Oh God, this kid. We're not counting the Joker out. We're counting the rest of his team out. They're going to have a lot of trouble. Chris Paul can't guard anyone right now. I mean, he can, but to ask him to guard Steph Curry at this age is
chase him around the floor all night.
Booker,
and you don't want Booker covering him.
Booker can't guard anyone. Bridges is their only, in that starting lineup is their only viable. I mean, but he's not guarding Steph either. So, yeah,
Bridges is covering Wiggins or he's covering Clay.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Because you put Booker or CP3 on Wiggins or Clay, like they're just going to eat.
Right. 20 years ago, I mean, you could just say, hey, let's work inside and overpower them with our size, but it's just not. It ain't like that anymore.
I will go back to what Brett said. I think that Denver is always a wild card because we've seen them have some really surprising success in the last couple of playoffs. And they've played a lot of this year without Jamal Murray, and they should be back at full strength by the time the playoffs come, pending health, of course. And I think they could be dangerous for some higher seeds for sure.
They could be. I mean,
I'm not saying they're the favorite in the West.
The Jazz are another one.
Get out of here, Brett. Go to bed.
The Jazz are another one that are, habitual.
Yeah, like we haven't even mentioned the Jazz.
Yeah, I mean, because it's exactly what the Jazz are. They're kind of just they're there. I mean,
they're good, but
they're deep.
They're kind of nice.
They're kind of nice. They play defense. They never seem to get over the hill though, and
that is different than when I say they're okay as shit.
Okay as shit. I can tell you right now though, I don't trust the Grizzlies because of the youth. I don't trust the Mavs. I don't trust the Timberwolves. Maybe I take it back. I think the Lakers are going to win.
LeBron's going into playoff mode.
Just LeBron, because fucking Anthony Davis, who somebody on my timeline calls him street clothes.
And Charles Barkley called him street clothes.
That shit cracks me up, dude. Yeah, it was Bart. Awesome. It did come from Barkley, but I guess somebody on my timeline that always calls him street clothes.
I love it.
And he is, man.
All right, so we got one more topic before we get to our salute to service, and then we'll finish up with our final topic after the salute. We got a pretty special salute tonight. But let's talk real quick. I was watching the Celtics the other night, and I've watched a few of their games since they kind of turned the corner. And it's this stat really is kind of why I presented this question. They are the best defense in the league since January 1st, right? And it's not close. They're better by a fairly good margin since January 1st. Ime Udoka's got them playing really good defense. They're long. They can defend across the board with everybody they've got. Horford has been Al Horford for them. And, Jason Tatum's playing really good defense. Jaylen Brown is showing how good he can be on defense. And, of course, Marcus Smart, right? He's one of the premier defenders in this league. Given that, with their defensive prowess right now, is Boston a threat in the East, or are they fool's gold? Because they've won 14 of 16, right? They not only have been playing crazy good defense, but they're winning games. They've won 14 of their last 16. I'm going to start with you, Raul. Is Boston a threat in the East, or are they fool's gold?
I think that they're fool's gold. I think that there's still some building, and there's consistency, there's coaching, there's chemistry, there's all kinds of things that I feel like any one thing at a time could be called missing. And so one thing that's consistent, injury prone, there's all kinds of things that are wrong with that team, but there's also, I don't know, they're misfiring gun. Sometimes it's the fucking bullets and sometimes it's the gun. But,
you get that filed down firing pin.
Yeah,
Andy,
yeah, real smooth.
Boston a threat or no?
This one, I don't know, man. I'm gonna fucking waffle on this one for real.
Oh,
this one's tough because
it's the Belgians.
All
kinds of Belgians been fucking waffling today.
I'm gonna say yes, they are. And actually, it's weird because like 40 minutes ago I said no.
You did.
And that was like a knee jerk. I just think looking at like they're 4.5 games out of first place. Okay. The team directly in front of them by a game is Cleveland. If we want to talk fool's gold, I could give you a whole show on why Cleveland is.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I don't think they get ahead of Philly, Milwaukee, Miami, and Chicago. So I think that, 5 is probably the ceiling for them. But, if they're at 5, they probably play.
Here you go. Waffling.
Yeah, I think they're a threat. And now you talked about them being the number 1 defense since January 1st. They're the number 3 defense since the beginning of the season.
Right. And
there's only 2 teams ahead of them, which I don't know if you guys know who those 2 teams are, but one of them's fucking Cleveland. So I
Golden
feel like
State's the other one, right?
Which undermines
the other one has
out there.
The other one has the softest European dude ever on their team. So it's the Mavericks. Is number 2.
No.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I thought the Warriors were up there at one point.
4.
Maybe they fell off a little bit then. Okay.
Yeah. So it's. I'm gonna call them a threat. I'm gonna call them a threat mostly because I think the East is a little weird. But the Mavs and the Cavaliers.
So by threat, you're arguing they could be a top 5.
I'm arguing that
they could make
a run in the East. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I went back and forth a lot on this, and I know it was my question, right? Because I think they rely too much on Tatum and Brown for scoring. So I think in the playoffs they're going to.
Those are the only 2 guys that can score.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They've built that roster that essentially it's them 2, and then there's some complementary pieces. If Marcus Smart can make threes, if Grant Williams can continue to make threes, maybe they've got enough complementary pieces to make a run in the playoffs. I'm going to say yes because defense travels, right? Ime Udoka's got them playing fucking unbelievable defense, something I wouldn't have expected from a team that's got Jason Tatum as like its pivot point, right? But that dude is like, he's willing now to play defense and playing very good defense, defending multiple positions. I watched them the other night against Brooklyn, and I know Brooklyn's missing some pieces, but Stan Van Gundy kept highlighting how well they switch on the ball, and it's fucking unreal. In the NBA, like a lot of teams don't switch very well because they just don't care to switch very well on defense. They play a lot of like off the ball. I'm going to challenge here. I'm going to go over screens, and that's it. They switch like crazy, and it is seamless. It's unbelievable. It doesn't matter who's on the floor either. They've got 8-9 guys that they'll play, and they switch, and it is just seamless, picking up dudes and in communication. And a lot of times they're not even talking, and they're just naturally switching. So I think that defense is going to travel. And I think if they can get enough from those other pieces, I mentioned Smart, I mentioned Grant Williams, if Al Horford can give them 8 or 10 points a game, in the playoffs and continue to play some of that inside presence, I think Boston can make some noise. And you mentioned the matchup, right? They may end up playing, they could play a Cleveland, they could play, Chicago, or
it ain't gonna be Cleveland, but Cleveland's dropping. There's no fucking
valid. Valid. All right, valid.
They might drop down to 12. In 20 games. I don't.
But so I want that matchup in the first round, and then after that, once you get past the first round, kind of all bets are off.
I want to kind of piggyback a little bit off of what you were saying real quick because you're talking about defense travels and defense being utterly important. We know that defense becomes substantially more important in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So, given that, and I'm looking here, and so if you have the Bulls, the Heat, the Sixers, the Bucks, I'm thinking confidently they're going to play one of those teams in the first round because I think one of those teams will be the 4. I'm thinking Philly, and I'm thinking they're going to be the 5. That's just my guesstimation for now. So if you have the best defense in the series and you're playing heads and shoulders above the opposition, the only missing factor is the best offensive player in the series. And I almost think against any of those teams not named Milwaukee, Jason Tatum can be the best offensive player in the series. Yeah. I watched Jason Tatum last year be damn near the best offensive player in a series against the Brooklyn fucking Nets.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And I mean, he had to do a little more than everybody on the Nets. However, he was precise. He was surgical. Yep. So if they're playing the Sixers, I think Tatum has the ability to be the best offense player on the floor. Same thing with the Heat or the Bulls. Maybe not with the Bucks because Giannis is a fucking alien. But I think the combination of your argument and my weird brain, I think I'm kind of talking myself into the Celtics here. That's so weird.
Yeah, score one for the home team.
Get your shit together, dude.
I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm going to start saying shit like wicked smart.
Wicked smart.
Yeah, instead, how about we just start the part where we all shut the fuck up and get to the most important part of our show?
Yeah, buddy.
He's always so fucking ornery.
All right, let me grab it.
I got it. No, you stop.
All right. I've got some overlays here I'm going to share. We've got a smattering of pictures and shares and social media posts that we're going to share here. It starts here with this Ukrainian Fulcrum pilot. And now, I hope that this dude is real. There are some reports coming out that this is kind of a morale booster type thing. But this dude, the Ghost of Kiev, has taken out single-handedly in a single day 6 Russian aircraft. Godspeed and happy hunting. That's the best line I've seen on social media.
Bro, you'll never convince me it's not real.
First ace of the century.
The millennium, bro.
Yeah, the millennium.
First ace of the millennium.
Bro, if that's got, I hope that's real. I really do.
I hope it's real. I hope so bad that it's real. Then we've got former heavyweight champion Vladimir Klitschko and his brother Vitaly Klitschko. We'll share some pictures here of the Klitschko family taking up arms in Ukraine. All right. One, Vladimir is the mayor of Kiev, and Vitaly went to the reserves in Ukraine to train in anticipation of this potential outcome. Badass motherfuckers. I will say this, though.
Wait, Vladimir Klitschko is the mayor?
The mayor of Kiev.
I saw that in writing earlier, and I thought it was like
Nope, he is the mayor of Kiev. Who needs a gun, though, when you've got fucking anvils for fists? Fuck around and find out, Russia. Fuck around and find out. And then we're going to finish here with maybe the greatest line in the history of warfare. USS Snake Island here. Raul put this together for us. So Snake Island, an island in the Baltic Sea, was approached by a Russian warship, and the Russian warship came over the airwaves and said, "Put down your weapons, surrender now, and nobody will die." To which they replied, "Russian warship, go fuck yourself." So, with all that, I also want to add, there is a woman in Ukraine who walked up to an armed Russian soldier and
How old
offered
was
to
this
put,
woman, Gary?
She was 40s, 50s?
No, she was like 80.
80. She wasn't older.
Bro, she lived a good life. She didn't care what
Lived
she
a
said.
good life. So she walks up to this armed Russian soldier who's flanked by multiple armed Russian soldiers and offers to put sunflower seeds in his pocket so that, and I quote, "When you die on Ukrainian soil, flowers will grow. That woman has the biggest dick in this war, bar none. That's some big dick energy. So,
I mean, if she went to Russia, she would certainly have the biggest dick.
So, for everybody over there in Ukraine, fighting the good fight, pushing back the Russian forces, telling Vlad to go suck your dick, we salute you. Godspeed. Happy hunting. Fuck some shit up.
May freedom prevail. And Russian warship, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck
yourself. This is the fucking
We have the watch.
greatest thing ever.
We have the watch. That is the greatest, single greatest radio transmission I've ever heard in my life.
Dude, Russian
just
warship,
the absolute confidence in that audio clip. Just
go fuck yourself.
That's sick. And knowing that they were gonna die, and it was imminent. It was right after.
Go fuck yourself.
Right. Well, you know, the shit on a heavier note, that Snake Island was a pretty important portion. So you know, now that's a little. I just wish fucking Vlad Putin would go fuck himself. So like, what a fucking twat, dude. What a twat.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we just trade him Kazakhstan, right? Like, let's give him that big ass chunk of land, and that way he could be, you know, free range, and then
free range,
and then the rest of it, free range Putin, and then the rest of us can get on with our fucking lives, dude.
Holy shit, dude. Just like
free range beer meat. All right, let's finish up here. Let's talk about the MVP race.
Yeah.
Right? We've got a handful of guys, and right now the odds-on favorites in Vegas are Joel Embiid, who is the favorite right now, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, followed by we've got Curry, DeRozan, Morant, Booker, Doncic, Durant, all mixed in there. So I want to go around. I want two things, right? We're going to talk about who you think is going to win, and then we'll frame it as kind of your – I said it all year last year about CP3, right? The real MVP, right? So, Andy, who do you think is going to win? Let's start there.
I think Jokic is going to win, and I will say for good reason. You can go across a lot of things. One of the things I really like to look at, obviously, besides like a team record, because turns out that's kind of important. Win shares is a big one for me.
Yeah.
And Embiid is the odds-on favorite right now, but the Joker's got nearly 11 in the win shares department, which is number one, as where Embiid is down at like 8. So yeah, there's that. I just think especially now with Harden coming in, he was supposed to debut tonight. I don't even have anything on. I don't know what time the game was, but that's going to affect him. Jokic is established in his role. I feel like that, he's going to be the odds-on favorite. And I would have way less of a problem with it, him than Embiid personally.
Okay. Raul, who do you think is going to win the MVP?
So I didn't really talk about it much whenever we were discussing the Nets and the Harden trade, but I like that chemistry that could build up with Embiid and Harden, and I feel like Embiid, I think he's got it this year. I think that they could make a run, but more importantly, like I don't know. That Ben Simmons Embiid chemistry was never really established. Like there was moments, there's whatever, but Harden, if he has some good games for the rest of the season, maybe gets his ass together, then I think that Embiid's probably going to be the guy.
I think that's a good point. Andy mentioned that Harden has had really good seasons with guys like Clint Capella and other guys that can run that high pick and roll, that he can get the ball with some room to operate underneath. I think that Embiid is going to win it. I just think that the NBA is really, in my opinion, the voters for the MVP award are weird in a lot of ways. Like we saw Michael Jordan lose an MVP because they were tired of voting for Michael Jordan, right? So I think we saw Westbrook get his, and they called it his. He got his, right. Harden, he got his, and I think this year, like last year, it was Joker. We never really see centers kind of get that kind of love, especially like true centers. Like Jokic is as close in this day and age to a true center as we're going to see in terms of a superstar. I just think this year it's Embiid's going to get his, right? So I think Vegas has probably got the odds right, and I think Embiid is going to win. Now, let's switch gears, and I'm going to start with Raul on this one. Who do you think should win the MVP? If not Embiid. If you think Embiid should, that's certainly. You're on mute.
I don't think he should. I feel like Giannis should be one of the clear cuts, but like my favorite this year is DeMar. Period. Like I love the fucking output we're seeing out of Chicago with DeMar. But I do feel like Giannis is the contender. Jokic is, I think he's the one that's probably going to win. Yeah, I would have to be. Like, if Embiid's not going to win, it's going to be Jokic. But I don't know. I guess it's a toss-up between those two for me personally. I would just love, like, the want in me is definitely DeMar, 100%. Like, I want to see him get that MVP.
Andy, who do you think should win the MVP?
I just really wanted to touch on DeMar real quick because I was getting a little pissed off, but as of this afternoon, they changed they finally updated the rankings. So, as of yesterday, DeMar DeRozan was ranked 9 in the MVP, which is disrespectful for a guy averaging 28, 5, and 5 on the best team in the East.
Right.
As of today, he's 4. So he had quite the jump. However, I think that the MVP should be a guy who's really not even on the radar, so to speak. I mean, I think he's on the radar. He's probably in everybody's top 10, but he's not in the top 5. Ja Morant. Ja Morant he's led, much like DeRozan, an incredibly young team to third in the West, 41 wins, which is a little better than DeRozan's Bulls are, but he's a young dude himself. And the numbers are I just said DeRozan was a 28, 5, and 5. Well, Morant's a 27, 6, and 7. So just incredible and fun as fuck to watch.
Yeah,
and a guy is just going to continue to improve and improve and improve. And I think it's one thing for DeMar. And again, I'm not shitting on DeMar because DeMar actually this morning was the guy I wanted to talk about. But then they kind of boosted him up, and now I'm like, oh, fuck you guys, you read my mind. But for DeMar to put his stamp on and lead a group of young guys is one thing because he's a vet. For Ja Morant to do it, to me, kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, no doubt.
And, again, I would approve of either one because, again, like I said, I wanted to talk about DeMar this morning, and then they kind of ruined me by jumping him up into the thing. But listen, and if you guys are bettors and you got money before Gary goes, go fucking throw $25 on DeMar DeRozan because like the payout, he's
odds
like
right now are plus 13.
Plus 13. Yeah, go throw some money on him. I mean,
there's money in that.
You probably won't win, but
you're at $25.
Worth the risk, right?
Yeah.
$25 for sure. Yeah, I have a couple picks here. I like you guys bringing up DeMar. I love bringing up Ja. He is so fun to watch and carrying that roster. Young, they've got some good pieces around him, but really to be that guy carrying that roster, he has made as good or better on all of the hype and potential that we thought he would have coming out of the draft. I would argue he's made even better than the hype. I know, Andy, you and I talked a lot about thinking he was going to have the best career of everybody. I argued Barrett would have a better career than Zion as well. Ja has one. We've all been believers in Ja to this point, but man, he is carrying that roster to really higher heights than we would have expected. I believe. I like a guy like Jimmy Butler as well because of what he's done with that Miami roster, but I'm not picking him as the guy who should win the MVP. I'm going to go to, Andy, your pick of who you think would win the MVP. I picked Embiid. I think he's going to win, but I think Jokic should win the MVP. Just what he's had to deal with this year, right? Jamal Murray hasn't played. They don't have a really good roster. They've had a lot of guys miss time. Michael Porter Jr.'s missed a lot of time. They've had tons of guys in and out of that lineup. And the one consistent thing for a team that is really good in the West, a team that really is dangerous, that nobody wants to see come playoff time because of Nikola Jokic and what he can do to get everybody involved. I just think that guy, I said it about CP3 last year when talking about the MVP, it is the guy that brings the most value, right? That's not how it always plays out with the vote. But for me, when we're talking about should win, Nikola Jokic to me brings more value to any team than any player this year. And I just think that is, for me, that is how I think the MVP award should be voted out. And that is, as Andy said, right, not to take away from DeRozan, not to take away from anybody, any of these guys. They're all superstars. They're all great. But I just think that Jokic, with the bag or the hand that he's been dealt this year, he's shown the most value of these players.
Yo, and shout out to Chris Paul, third most in win shares this year.
Yeah.
Behind Jokic and the Greek Freak.
Yeah. The things he does for that team are just tremendous as well, right? So, all right. We have covered our entire agenda. Going forward, I want to let everybody know, anybody that's tuning in, we're going to be regular on Mondays. We kind of threw this one in here because we wanted to get talking about basketball, and it was a convenient time to really talk about All-Star break and trade deadline and the second half of the season getting started here. Some of the big moves falling into place, but we're going to look to do this every Monday. So join us every week, Monday nights. We're going to talk basketball going forward, and we can't wait to talk with you guys. Andy, closing comments?
Yeah, I said this before. I just, so that it's in everybody's, the front of your mind as you tune out. Vlad Putin is a cunt.
Yes.
So that's all from me, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers. Raul, last thoughts.
Long live Snake Island. Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know. I'm going to go right back to kind of figuring out what's going on in Kiev, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a great show and all, but seriously, like, I just can't even take my eyes off of it. It's fucking horrible, and It sucks. It really sucks. Yeah,
for sure. I'm with you guys. Parting shots. Fuck Putin. Fight strong, Ukraine. Keep fighting the good fight, man. And, whatever support NATO can give you, please maximize it and just keep fighting. Push them motherfuckers back. Fuck those troops. All the atrocities I've seen on social media, running over fucking civilian cars with tanks and just all that shit, man. You can fuck all the way off with that shit. So
yeah,
for the guys here at Backyard Sports, fuck Putin. We're out.